Okay, as I was trying to say before, okay, you know me, I'm the pastor of the Christian Hearts Christian Fellowship Online Ministry, and I'm having a July the 4th, July the 5th message here. And I want y'all to understand that July the 4th or the 4th of July was for the independence of the United States. Now, don't get it wrong. I understand that there are even our foreign friends that help us celebrate this holiday because they believe in it just as much as we do. Now, I don't blame them for it. I agree they should have every right to help us celebrate it. But what gets me about this whole thing is that when you got an American black man or a white man, and you hear all these stories about the foreign man who talks about how we do this and that over here in this country. Well, I beg to differ. I think that we live in a pretty okay country. We've had our slips and we've done things we shouldn't have done, and I agree that we've pretty much let us go downhill. Like when we were with Barack Obama, we let a slip happen there. When we were with Bill Clinton, we had a slip we let go on there. I mean, we've had our dots on the map, but I'll say that the morals, even if they were kind of to look at, with Washington, Lincoln, and Teddy Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt. Now you say, what is the big deal with them? Well, I don't know about the religion of Teddy and Franklin, but I assume that they had a certain message in their, let's see, the way that they ran the White House and the way they ran the United States. I think they had a message they were trying to send through the way they treated America, was basically stand up for yourself. And I suppose if the rumors are true, that FDR basically put himself out there as, look, I got this polio, and I'm hearing these stories that Warm Springs, Georgia is where I need to go to cure myself. Then it's like he gets down there and is supposed to fall in love with Georgia itself and with Warm Springs. And I'll tell you, I can understand why you could fall in love with that area. I've spent time there for various reasons. And through those various reasons, I'll say it, I seem to think that it's a very nice small town. Now, if the good Lord told me that I should move to that area and set up a church somewhere there, then I sure enough would. But I will tell you, the legacy that he left behind in that area, FDR, yeah, it's very much felt. The aura he left behind, yeah, it's still there. It don't go away right away, and it never will. And I'm not complaining. I'm thinking that's a good idea. Then you got Teddy, who refused to shoot a bear, little baby bear, and the fact that he was a Rough Rider, and he, about the charge of San Juan Hill and all that. Well, that proves that, he was a war man, and he was a born again cowboy, meaning a regular man turned into a cowboy. Now, a born again Christian, I won't be for sure of that or not, but I'll know that he had a certain attitude about himself. And as for Washington and Lincoln, they were men of God, and they was trying to prove that you have a building called a government. And the building called government was supposed to have some legs it would stand on to hold the building up. The legs of the building called government was supposed to be held up with a thing called religion, spirituality, and the love of God. Well, that got thrown out like the baby with the bathwater story, because now people are saying that It don't work that way. So you're saying yank the legs out from under the building. Legs meaning the platform or whatever holds up the building. Some cases it's a brick and mortar foundation, sometimes cement foundation or bricks or whatever. But in the case of the White House and of the government of the United States, that whole governmental system was held up by God and Jesus being a part of our United States government. I mean, come on. Even the White House was once a church at times, makeshift church. Now, you'd think if we're using the White House as a church at times, wouldn't it stand to reason that that means that government and religion work together? And I understand a lot of you people have got this in your head that government don't work with religion and also education don't work with religion. And you don't want people to pray in schools because that might offend other cultures because their beliefs in the prayer system and the Pledge of Allegiance and the whole pride in God and the pride in your country thing might offend them. Well, yeah, it might, but we can't dwell on that all our lives, because if we dwelled on that all our lives, where would we be? We would be sitting there saying that we shouldn't that's like saying I can't pray in my house by myself with whoever I'm with at the time, whether it be my mom or her man slash my dad, which I consider my mom's guy a dad figure to me because he's been there for me as long as I've known him. And also, I have a woman that I'm fixing to be a husband, and when I get into the full-time preaching in a church, we will be a church family, and when we have kids, then there'll be kids of a preacher and kids of a preacher's wife. And that's how I believe it. But even with that being said, when I'm with her, I don't see where it's wrong for us to pray together because that's something that we believe in. And I don't want y'all to look at me like I can't do this and we can't do that and I can't say this and I can't say... Me, I think that if you are with people that you care about, then you have a right to pray around them. If they don't like it, then tell them, I'm sorry, you don't like what I'm doing, but my God tells me that I need to pray for him and with him and about him because he is what kept us from falling down on our faces. I love you people, but y'all got to stop all this nitpicking about, but I don't like, if you're an atheist, I understand that, but don't fight this fight that says, I'm going to fight you because you want to say the Pledge of Allegiance in front of my child, which means I pledge allegiance to them. You know, I'm not trying to make fun of y'all, but please stop all this griping about you don't want your kid to say the Pledge of Allegiance because God is in there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, indivisible. I mean, it's like saying, let's see if I can remember the whole Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, one nation under God and Jesus. Okay. When you get to the part about God and Jesus, see, that's the thing that gets people. In God we trust, in the money, the Pledge of Allegiance, and other things that have God in it. There's just some people that believe that that's not their place. And you sheeple, as people call y'all, that believe this stuff. No offense, I'm not making fun of y'all, but there are people in this world that we are calling you sheeple because you follow whatever you find out is what you think is the thing to follow. Man comes up from Mars and he says that if you don't follow what he says, you'll die. Well, if what he says is wrong, and if God comes up to you and says, I can correct that whole thing right now and tell you that that Martian, his religion is totally out of whack or not right, then I'd say God knows more than this Martian guy does, because God's never been wrong. The Martian guy's probably been wrong how many times? Because they want you to follow their system so that once they do, you can turn around and be led straight to the slaughter. Lambs to the slaughter. Because think about it. In other words, in the real world, what I'm saying is you got God and you got Jesus and you got the devil. God and Jesus trying to fight the devil and all the minions of hell, which are demons, and a lot of your demons are basically made up of angels that follow the devil. Now, if it's true that demons are now saying to all of us, man of the cloth, as we're called, or our preachers or pastors, if they're telling us that they wish they'd have followed in God's footsteps instead of the ones of the devil, then you know what? God is waiting on you. He's been waiting on you, and He wants you to turn your back on Satan. That's all you got to do. We're too busy. That's like I know guys right now that fought for... I've never fought. I've never been in service. I wanted to be, but when they found out my health conditions, they said I couldn't do it. But I wanted to do that, that's one thing, and then I also respect those that were in service. So my point is, what I'm saying is, okay, I'm saying that I'm a man of God, and I'm saying that I respect people that are veterans of war. Regardless if you're in a nursing home, if you live at home, if you live anywhere in this world, if you've done what God told you to do in the branch of service you was in, then I salute you. I say good for you. I know a man right now. I treat him as a friend, him and his wife, even though she's a lot older than him, which that shouldn't matter because they're both a good Christian couple, which I really like that. But anyway, story goes, he was a Marine, and I love talking to him every time because it's almost like, I don't know how it happened, but it's almost like God said, you may have not been in service, but you have a knowledge that a lot of people that have never been in service have. We sit there and complain about, oh, when we parked near a mud puddle and we got to get out of our car and step right in it. Oh, you know what? The Army, Navy, Marines, and all them, they were jumping and flying and ducking and dodging in mud puddles all the time. And they never complained because they just wanted to go and do what they had to do to keep us free, and plus be able to get home in time to see their wives and kids. So in other words, what's your reasoning for your complaints? You know, yes, they probably went back in service multiple times when they had a choice to do so if they wanted to or not, knowing that they did it because they felt like, I don't feel I've done enough for my country, so I got to go back in. They go back in and they do this, and then they help out their country, and then they end up finally when they got home saying, I told you, and when I got out, I'm coming straight home. Now you faithful women, I love you, and I'm glad you're doing this stuff for these guys, waiting on them. But you, excuse my language, you harlots. Come on, women. The bad women make the good women look like saints of women. Because you bad women, you told your guy a lie. You told him you'd wait on him, and you told him when he got out of service, you was going to start a family and all this mess. Yeah, you said, we going to start a family when you get back home. Next thing you know, he comes home, caught you in bed with another man. Now, how do you think that feels? When all that way in service, he gets home, he's got that pride that he served our country well, and then you just messed it all up by being in bed with some other dude. If you didn't want the guy, tell him, I don't feel comfortable anymore about me and you. I mean, work something out here. Don't sit there and act like, you can't get nothing done. Well, I'll let you go and have a nice evening.